Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker. Go by One Who Parks on Discord.
And this is Aaron, and I go by Treffenwood.
On Discord. All right, moving on.
Actually, he goes by Treffenwood most places.
I'm going to call you Treppenwood from now on. It's going to be great.
His Sam's Club card says Treffenwood.
That's Treffenwood. Is this a reference to something that I don't know?
Do you really want to know what it's from?
Only if it's podcast appropriate, so literally anything.
I was gonna say we have done some things that are almost Spotify inappropriate. So
yeah, I know, right? I think, don't give us a third blue bar, but I was gonna say we can take just about anything.
The fruit lies so low. But go ahead.
Whoops.
I can't help but think of Steppenwolf every time you say it. So
it is a minor character in a series by Terry Brooks, who wrote the Shannara series.
Huh? Like, what's the name of the series, though?
Yeah, I'm really confused.
Shannara. You never heard about the Shannara?
No.
It's oh my god. Okay.
I know you read a lot of trashy novels, but I'm just
yes. When I'm taking a break from my smut, I read my other smut, which is was Terry Brooks. So he has probably 20 books out in the world of Shannara. Shannara. We're talking early 90s, 80s. Trying to figure out when he actually wrote them. So he is one of the, not Tolkien original, but in the Salvatore vein.
One
right?
of the older, yes. In the Salvatore vein. So it's just like not Drizzt books, basically.
Correct. So very different writer, very different storytelling, but that same era, if you will.
Okay.
And so Tay Treffenwood is an elf in one of his books. Relatively minor, ends up dying. Spoiler alert. But I happened to be reading this book back when I was creating an email account for the first time. So yeah, that's my email, and became my ID and Discord name and whatever for life.
Yeah, I mean, my handle's based off one of my more successful City Heroes characters, so...
I'm not going to lie. Every time I see your handle, Brandon, I think of StarCraft. The Mutalisk is timeless. The Mutalisk is a timeless
slightly different.
Yeah.
Although my character did have chitin and wings, so like it's...
There you go.
And so everyone in the game is like, oh, because of StarCraft. I'm like, what the fuck are you I've never played StarCraft, so I had no idea what they were talking about.
One day I looked up my own name in the Webster's dictionary, and it said One Who Parks, and I was like, and that will be my moniker, because that makes sense.
Funnily enough, actually StarCraft 2 post-dates my City of Heroes character, so boom.
But Mutalisk is actually a word with a meaning.
It is.
It is. Do you know what that word meaning is from the Latin?
When I did reverse translation, it was mutilator or to mutilate.
No, you're wrong.
And so that's what it converted to on the translator. So that's why I put in my character name as.
Oh, okay.
Now, don't get me wrong. Google Translate has gotten a lot better.
It actually means hornless, having lost or stunted horns.
There you go. Well, he was like a demon barbarian, so that actually makes sense.
Cool.
Although he still had horns, but they're part of his helmet, so I don't know. Maybe he was compensating. Anyway, moving on. Welcome to this week's episode. This is episode 2? Episode 2 of season 2? Yeah. 202. Parker, I have some good news for you.
What is it?
You're down to 694 more probationary episodes.
Womp womp womp.
Before you're once again a real boy.
I love it.
Yeah. One actual big piece of announcement. We have... September 3rd, this Saturday coming up, is the Midwest Melee at the Geekery. Please, if you're at all considering coming out, please come out. I think it's going to be a fun time and a good time. So please come out. It'll be great.
You say please come out like we're not going to have a showing. I think it's going to be...
No, I think we are, but like I want to get the numbers higher to justify all the work I put into terrain and mats and everything else.
I get it.
So I know that we've got at least one person coming from Des Moines. Unfortunately, it sounds like St. Louis can't come due to COVID. I think Nebraska is going to another event next week, so they're deciding not to come out. But I believe we have Springfield people coming and Springdale people coming. And I'm hoping Tulsa and Wichita people with any luck. So I think it's gonna be a good time. I think there's this negative stigma with competitive tournaments for MCP, and while this is technically a competitive tournament, like, everyone's gonna be here for a good time. Like, I've played in all of these groups. All of them are great people. Like, we're just gonna come out and have a good time playing games. Except for Parker, who's gonna be super sweaty.
I politely refuse. I do not want to be super sweaty.
So sweaty.
It'd be fun to win, but like I said before, if I go to LVO and all I get to do is play lots of games, I'll be super satisfied with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that will take us into our next segment, the news. Hey, news. So, Parker, tell us about the news.
Okay. So, what we know is a little bit about release dates. Red Skull is coming out October 14th, which we had a good inkling he would be as quickly as close to Hydra as possible. But one of the things we got with his official release information is that he has a lot of tactics cards that come with him, 7 in total for just him and his grunt, and that's 5 that we don't know then. So a lot more Hydra tactics cards or Red Skull tactics cards, or maybe even some generic tactics cards.
I actually heard from Will Pagani that's why he was delayed the 1 month, is because they had to print so many tactics cards to put in his box.
No, it's because the box size wasn't big enough for the tactics cards.
Yeah, they had to make the box bigger
to
hold all the tactics cards. Yeah,
they had to increase the thickness by exactly 1/100th of an inch.
It's a very girthy box.
Girth is what's most important.
Yeah. Tuna cans are preferred.
Speaking of girth, the Sentinels, both releases, the MK4 and the Sentinel Prime MK4, are both coming out at the same time as the big boy. And I, personally, could not be sweatier. I am so...
Yeah. If you ever wanted to increase girth, this is how you do it. You release Sentinels.
I want you to know, I, at all times, compensate for the size of my member by using Sentinels. That is what I do.
I find not only are they effective, but they are enthusiastically effective.
So one of the things we know a bunch of stuff actually coming out with them now. So Sentinel Prime is going to come with 2 tactics cards, and Sentinels Mark IV are going to come with 3 tactics cards. So we're going to get 5 total. 1 affiliation card is going to come with Sentinel Prime. Again, like, I don't know. What we know right now is Cassandra Nova. I don't know who else. Maybe Deadpool again for some non-reason.
Wait, what'd you say?
The affiliation card, like the affiliation card, also Sentinel Prime.
Yeah.
I think there might be a non-zero chance. I know this is really reaching out there. There's a non-zero chance it might be Wolverine, because there's a very
hold on.
There's a very famous like comic book moment where Wolverine uses Sentinels to go kill other mutants, which is ironic. I don't know if that's actually good. I don't know. But there have been some X-Men and Sentinel like team up things. I don't know.
So how many?
What's that?
How many?
How many times does Wolverine use a Sentinel to kill mutants?
No, I just typed out episode 202. Parker bets Wolverine is in Sentinel's affiliation.
Let's do a small one because I think this is a very long shot. Let's do 40.
400 esports.
That's a 0 more. But you know what? Yeah,
I'll give you 10 to 1 odds. It's okay.
What's a 0?
410 to 1. God, if I lose, Parker's going to own the podcast, but it's okay because he won't.
Wouldn't it be wonderful,
so how about this?
If my demerits somehow go positive, I get some sort of passive
I have
benefit.
to stop being mean to you, which would be the worst thing ever.
That is a cruel twist.
How about this? Can I make a bet?
Yeah.
I want to bet there will be more than 4 people on the affiliation card. How about this? I don't know how they're going to word the Mark IV Sentinel, because they've announced that you could take 2 Mark IV Sentinels.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if we count the Mark IV Sentinel as 2 or 1, it doesn't matter as long as we agree on that amount, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, if it's Mark IV Sentinel plus the Prime plus Cassandra Nova, we're at 3. I think there'll be more than just that on the affiliation card.
Okay. You want me to bet against you? Because I think that's really good odds. I think.
You think there won't be, or
I think there will be. I think they're going to find ways to put some smaller models of the affiliation to make it not impossible to play them at different point values. I think.
I don't think it would be impossible to play them at different point values, because if we're assuming they're 5+ points, which I think is a pretty fair assumption based on the fact that they've announced they're the largest models they've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you do the math and just assume you're taking 2 Sentinels, it's very easy to just include one more character and make it affiliated.
But
or if you're taking the 3 Sentinels, you're probably at 16+ points already.
And I suppose
throw somebody in.
I suppose you're not sad to play Winter Soldier, and he can be a Sentinel affiliation, right?
Right. The issue becomes you cannot take 2 unaffiliated almost ever, I think.
Yeah.
Because even if they're all 5 points, which I think is averaging on the low side, that's 15 points. So I guess you could maybe include 2 2-pointers. Like, it's gonna be so hard to get affiliated if you do anything other than 3 Sentinels. Yeah, so I don't know if we can find some even ground here to do another bet, but I think there's going to be more than just what we know so far on the affiliation card.
Yeah,
but I specifically think it's going to be like Master Mold or the Nimrod.
Oh, you think it'll be?
Yeah, I think it'll be like that Cyclops teaser or the Juggernaut teaser, where it's like 6 months away, but they're going to like tease it.
I see.
Because obviously, Master Mold would be an amazing Ultimate Encounter.
Mm-hmm. Nimrod would be
Nimrod could be really cool if they just start doing the Future Mutants, because then you can bring in stuff like Bishop and all those guys.
Yeah, that would be tight. I would.
Yeah, but it sounds like we're on the same side here, so it's gonna be hard to make a bet when we agree.
I can tell you. Right. I can tell you more about the Sentinels. The back of their box does allude heavily to some of the things they might be able to do. For example, they talk about electric and plasma blasts, so maybe 2 different types of attacks. Their physical strength, so probably like a throw. They mentioned catch web cables, so maybe like a pull. And this is from the Mark IV Sentinels. Then the Prime Sentinel, they talk about storing data for use against certain enemy types, and then distributing it to other Sentinels. So maybe that's a leadership ability hint. Sentinels are one of their main things is they adapt, right? They get attacked once and they're not going to get attacked like that again. They also talk about how they're not vulnerable to mental attacks. So they put some really thickly laid on some rules on their little synopsis. Seems like they'll be either immune or have some sort of something they can pay for that stops them from being advanced, maybe, or mystic attack. Movement shenanigans. So they'll probably be really big size. I think they'll be very difficult to move. One of the things is the Mark IV Sentinels do come with their own character stat cards, which is mostly probably just for bookkeeping during the game. They might be perfectly identical, but this will be the first time we have 2 identical stat cards. With I'm guessing the presumption that can you play 3 of them? Can you play 3 Mark IVs? Is that going to be a rule they'll have to print on there?
I believe they've said you can take between 1 and 2.
Okay.
And so it'll probably be a rule on the card, I would imagine, saying you may include up to 2 of this model in your roster.
Got it. Okay.
Did you just read the Prime description or the normal Mark IV description?
Yeah, maybe I wasn't clear. Mark IV specifically mentions the attacks, which are electric and plasma bolts. The catch web cables, which sounds like a pull, and extraordinary physical strength, which sounds like a throw.
Sure. No, I'm good with all that. I was just
the
Prime. Next sentence is this pack adds 1 relentless Mark IV Sentinel ready to reinforce. New Sentinel's affiliation.
I'm looking at the back of their box. I'm not looking at the Asmodee blurb.
Right. So I'm reading the Asmodee, but that just says the pack adds 1 relentless Mark IV Sentinel.
Correct. This has been an issue. The back left of the box says 2 models.
Includes 2 models.
So somewhere there's a disconnect between their fluff that says you get 1, but the box is $65. The Prime is $50.
Yeah.
So it really makes sense that there are 2 models in the box and 1 model in the Prime. And they just messed up their fluff when they wrote 1.
Also, on the box...
That sentence does not appear on the box.
On the box art... Yeah, on the box art, that sentence doesn't exist. And when you look down at on the box, the base...
Right, I know it says specifically it comes with 2 models. I'm fine. I would be blown away if it doesn't come with 2. It really surprises me that Asmodee added the description 1 adds 1.
Nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah. And they've also said, like, in addition to the 2 separate models, they said they're, like, fully posable. Not fully posable, but they've got a lot of different options for making different poses, in addition to alternate damaged parts.
Mm-hmm.
And so they show 2 fully assembled and very different posed models on the back of this box. So that really surprised me.
Do you guys like the poses on the box?
No, they look really derpy.
I agree. I hate the way these models look.
The front one on the right is okay. The one on the left looks fucking dumb.
Well,
now, don't get me wrong. That pose is used in the comics and on the animated show.
Oh, yeah.
So I get it. But, like, it looks horrible. It looks like clearly they didn't understand any kind of
they're going
choreography.
I mean, it's trying to evoke a Frankenstein, right? That's what it's supposed to evoke.
Zombie Sentinels. That was my first thought.
Right. It's supposed to evoke like an automaton, right? A relentless automaton. Yeah.
A golem or golem.
A golem, yeah.
All right, Parker, go ahead and read the Prime Sentinel.
So the Prime one mentions specifically that they have superior strength weaponry and protective hulls, and they learn from every enemy encounter, storing the data and making it available to other Sentinels. And they cannot be fooled by illusions and are not vulnerable to mental attacks. So it sounds like...
So he's not going to be able to be moved by, like, mind control and stuff. That's really cool.
On top of probably being maybe even Dormammu size, so maybe he'll be difficult to throw or impossible to throw.
Yeah, I would expect them to be size category 5, so they'll probably be very difficult to throw. They'll probably be... I wonder if that's, like, the leadership ability of the Sentinel, like you were saying. Maybe the leadership says can't be advanced by enemy superpowers or something, because it's like they've got better control.
I wonder...
Or maybe it's just the Prime can't be controlled.
I wonder if it'll actually be like a Taskmaster ability. Like, the first time they're attacked, maybe nothing happens, but the second time they're attacked, they get some sort of benefit. The idea is they're adapting to your opponent and their attacks, making it difficult to double tap them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's...
They could have, like, the Taskmaster ability where they get to add dice to their pool if they've already been attacked by you this turn.
Something like that, too, maybe. Yeah, if they're, like, analyzing your moves.
Or even just specify specifically the same damage type.
Right.
No, what they're going to have is they're going to have a rule that says they can use an opponent's superpower that was used within range 3 of them the following turn.
God, I hope not.
I hope not to.
I don't think these guys are supposed to be the super futuristic Nimrod type where they can like completely reform their bodies and stuff. Yeah. I think they're supposed to be the old school ones.
I'm kind of expecting Juggernaut helmet style rule on the Sentinels. Mm-hmm. So because that's kind of the catch-all. It's like, all right, no mind control, no mental advancing, and high defense against Mystic. And then probably like a 4-3 4-3-5 defense, something like kind of like Juggernaut basically. I kind of hope they have injured sides that are somewhat degraded, like maybe they lose an attack on the backside or something as you like blow an arm off. That could be cool. Yeah, I'm very excited. They look great. I think they hit the perfect mark between the old Derpy and the new Hypertech. Like they hit a good transition point.
Yeah.
And the models look great.
I am
good detail.
I have never been excited to play big models in this game. In fact, every time I have, like the one time I played She-Hulk and Shield, I was like, never again. I will exclusively play these guys so hard for so long.
I know they're gonna dominate the tabletop. Not even if they're good. Like just so many people are gonna be all over them.
Yeah.
I will say that I was not excited at all about getting Sentinels, wanting Sentinels, or playing Sentinels until I saw the pictures, and I was like, "Oh man, these guys look fucking awesome!" Like, so now I'm very excited to play them.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're also probably getting most of an affiliation for $130. That's probably about average because they're going to be expensive as fuck.
If you told me I could play 3, I would buy 4. That's how much I'm excited to play these guys.
I want to use all the damaged parts to build like destroyed Sentinels as terrain.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get the terrain pack for the destroyed Sentinel, I think between that and like actually just all the extra parts they're going to come with, you could make 2 or 3 like destroyed down Sentinels on a table, and it could be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's also really fun terrain, or you could do on the bases of models.
Yeah, but you could do like Wolverine standing over like a Sentinel arm that's like severed.
Yeah.
All right, cool. What we got next?
Does it matter? Sentinels are all that matter now.
Sentinels. Bound to have your new overlords.
That is all the news we have right now. It's all release stuff and ultra speculation about Sentinels, which I'm very happy about.
Cool. Hobby projects. Myself and Aaron recently just worked on store terrain a lot. So I went through and sealed all of the store terrain and sorted it into individual table bins, and so all the terrain is ready to go. Aaron worked on building a bunch more terrain for the store. So yeah, we're getting along. I think we're gonna have a lot of terrain done soon. Oh, on the plus side, also, I think I've worked out an opportunity to, or not an opportunity, but a way to, I guess, basically make more store tables without being exorbitantly expensive. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I think we're going to get to our 30 table goal pretty quickly, actually.
Man, that's awesome.
Have you guys worked on hobby projects? I know Aaron, I guess, just said he hasn't. So
yeah, for some reason, my disdain for the two Asgardians that were added, like I have done such a good job of every single time I got a new model in MCP, I build it in 24 hours, and I literally just put them down on my shelf and went no, and turned around and walked away. And I will probably build Malekith here pretty soon because he seems like a really cool model. Even if I don't play him anytime soon, he's just so cool. So I'll probably end up putting him together.
One of our listeners, Josh, printed us up some alternate Scourge models with the Weapons of Midgard M16s, Des and Troy. And so we've got those cool models to work on now. Thank you, Josh, for printing those up for us. It's always nice to get cool stuff. I have built and painted, or not, I've built everything but Miss Marvel, except for the newest wave of like Malekith and those guys, because I haven't bought them yet. But I also haven't played in a month, so I'm getting pretty sad that I haven't gotten to play. I don't even know if I'm going to take my models to the store tomorrow. That's how little, like, like hope I have of playing a game.
Sounds like a personal problem.
I know.
I don't know when I finished. Did I have my Malekith painted by the last podcast? I don't remember.
You did finish it like right before the cast because you were showing it off on your webcam.
Oh, I was, yes.
And it looked like grainy dog shit.
It did.
I couldn't even tell that you did like the color on his wings. It's so ugly.
Yeah.
It looks much better in person, obviously.
Oh, thank you.
It only looks like slightly grainy dog shit.
So then, yeah, I had no MCP to do. Working on a Blood Bowl team at the moment. That's it for hobby time for me.
Nice. Okay, moving on. We have some From the Forums to talk about today. Extra spicy forum day. So anyone who isn't aware, locally, this has been a topic. We did touch on it a little bit last week, I believe, because I brought up the, I know was it episode 99? Yeah, it was episode 99. I brought the fact that you could play Recal against Malekith to try and negate his critical mechanics. And I said that due to my understanding of the wording on the card, because that's what the card says is choose a result. And so if you re-roll, it's not the same result, even if you roll the same effect. That was my understanding of the ability. I got some messages from people that thought that I might be wrong and encouraged me to look at some forum posts. I did. It was unclear as to what happens with the reroll mechanics and the treating a die result as something else.
To everyone's enormous surprise.
Right. And so the real issue, a lot of people are like, oh, why don't they write like better rules and stuff? There's a lot of people like annoyed with some stuff or annoyed, not anyone specific. There's all kinds of confusion and frustration with the situation. The problem with this rule, in my opinion, is that it relies on two things that are not currently governed by the rule set very well, which the first one being treat a die face as another face. That is not a modification. It does not count a result. It is separate from all other effects, and it's in his own category as treat as something else. So that's kind of awkward, because what happens when you treat a die as something else? Does it always count as it? Does it only count as it in some situations? Can you modify it? Will it still count? All that stuff is kind of timey-wimey because it's not really clearly defined in the rulebook. The second problem is timing. on this ability, and this ability has already caused numerous erratas due to its timing. So originally this was the same rule that Domino had, which because of the wording on that card, they decided they needed to errata all the previous reroll mechanics that had similar wordings. So the rule is Cloak of Shadows, and it's probability manipulation on Domino, I believe. After this character rolls attack, defense, or dodge dice, but before resolving the critical step, this character may spend any amount of power to use this superpower. It's a cost X. For each power spent, choose one failure to treat as a critical for the remainder of this attack or effect. Which has been clarified online because technically dodges are not attacks, so it would not last till the calculate successes, so it was a whole problem that got fixed. So the issue was they had ruled on Domino that you could overspend on the initial trigger before you roll the criticals, because you have to pay before you roll the criticals, and the question was, can I overspend? That way if my critical explosion die is also a failure, I can count it as a crit as well. And they said yes, which I think was a mistake at the time because there was no logic to support that, because the power says choose a failure. How are you choosing a failure that doesn't exist? And so their argument was, well, it doesn't say choose right now, it just says choose. And so they were arguing that basically there were these charges of this ability that could exist beyond the timing chart, which was really confusing and awkward. And so basically, if you had 10 power and you rolled dice, you could spend 10 power. And if at any time while resolving this attack, you rolled a failure or had a failure result in your pool, you could use one of those theoretical charges to modify or treat that die as a critical. Including if people reroll your dice, because now that we're treating the failures as crits, they can be rerolled, even though normally you couldn't reroll failures. So there was this huge, convoluted thing, and one of the forum rulings actually said you could, what was it exactly? It was, if you use Grand Illusion, he modifies the dice to failures as part of the effect of Grand Illusion. So let's say you roll five failures, pay 5 for Cloak of Shadows, they are treated as criticals, Grand Illusion resolves, they mod all to failures, and then immediately change back to criticals because they're still treated as criticals. It was really confusing, and it was really odd. So we got a new ruling today. Aaron, can you read the new ruling for us?
In 1 second, I can.
Okay.
To go find where it's at now.
It's in the MCP rules.
Yep. Okay, here's the ruling. You are now required to have failures in your dice pool at the point you use the superpower in order to choose them. This means you can no longer overspend, as the results can only be chosen directly after using the superpower. You will now pay to choose specific results, not dice, to be treated as critical results. Only results that exist at the point of paying may be chosen. If those results are modified, changed, or rerolled later, even if they are modified to the same result, the effect allowing them to be treated as another result is lost. In other words, if a die showing a failure is rolled, even if that die rolls another failure, the result of that effect applied to the original failure is gone, and thus the effect is gone. This change aligns the rule to the printed rule on these cards. End forum post.
All right. End forum post. So in functionality, it is a one-use effect that applies to a die face, and if that die face is changed even to the same face, as long as it was changed, the effect is voided. In addition to that, you cannot overspend. Aaron, do you have thoughts on this?
I highly approve of the change.
Okay.
Because it makes it simple. It makes it to where you have a card, and you read it, and you do what it says. I don't understand why rules have been made that go against that, right? So I'm a big proponent of you should be able to...
The rule should be what the card says it is.
You should be able to pick up a set of rules and any published errata and the cards and play a game, period, dot.
Yeah.
If you are not meeting that standard, you are failing, in my opinion. I don't want to harp on that, though. So this is a step in that direction, though. For that reason, I like it a lot, regardless of the effect on specific models in the game. I like the fact that we're getting back to what does the card say. Let's apply that as rule.
Parker, do you have opinions on this ruling?
I can't stand trying to track down the way to play. So anything that lowers the amount of times I have to bring my game to an ass grinding halt to figure something out, and I can just look at the things in front of us and decide from there is exactly what I want. So anytime somebody ends a rules decision with this brings this interaction in line with what's printed on the card, I go, this is it. Good. Thank God. It's fantastic. As long as that's the way it ends, then I don't care what anything said above that. As long as it brings it more in line to what it says on the card.
Okay. This is the single greatest rules change they've made to the game.
I don't know about that, but
I think this is better than the Hulk errata. Like, this is chef's kiss perfect fix. It gets you back to rules as written. Like, so now I think the majority of people who read this rule and tried to understand it on their own without going to the internet probably ended up at least close to this result. And it's more intuitive. It fixes issues that were causing other issues. It is simple. It is clear. It avoids so many frustrating problems with this interaction that had existed in the past. This is my favorite thing that has ever come out of the forums. They absolutely nailed this. It is perfect. I think there's some people out there that are thinking this was an attempt to nerf Malekith. That was definitely not the situation. This was an attempt to remove unintuitive situations or frustrating or confusing situations that were existing because they kept kind of tweaking this rule with the way it was supposed to be used online. And so this has fixed a lot of problems.
Yeah, I never liked this game. I never liked that you say, okay, well, back when people played Domino, I've never played, against Malekith. Yeah. But people play Domino, they're like, okay, well, I got 2 failures, so I'm going to spend 4. And you're like, what?
Yeah,
I'm going to spend 4 because eventually I might have more failures. I'm like, this is dumb.
Or my opponent has recal available. Let me spend 4 on every roll in case they recal me. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how does this rule work?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It's very, very strange. I like that it's just, you rolled the dice. Did you want one of these to be a crit? Oh, you did? Spend a power. Now it is a crit until I do something to it. Like, that's good.
Yeah. No, this is absolutely great. This is a huge round of applause for everyone involved in this adjustment. Good job, guys. I'm very happy. I feel like this was potentially spiraling into a very frustrating game state, and that got nipped in the butt pretty much immediately.
You know what?
So I'm very happy.
You know what else I like? And maybe this is the opposite, but I feel like this shows cojones, right? Like, for them to say, you know what? No, we're not. I know you guys really, really like this model, and you might all cry nerf, but no, this isn't as broken as you want it to be. Like, he's not immune to all things in the game that affect dice. He's not just immune to that because he has this rule. I really like that.
Well, also, like, how many games do you think that this probably makes a serious impact in?
Well, like that recal totally
if you're actually talking some people are worried that they're trying to nerf Malekith, or they did nerf Malekith with this adjustment. How many games different in like 100 game sample size do you think are affected by this ruling?
I think
to the point where it changes the victor of the game.
No,
it seems
2.
Yeah, like a 2% adjustment I think is probably fair. And the big issue was that like there's now more technical counters. Like, there's more things you can do to adjust his, like, dice math. But they should have worked. Like, by all logical standards, they were supposed to work. And they just didn't because they basically just kept saying, like, every time the question was asked on this rule, it was ruled in his favor in seemingly illogical reasons sometimes. And I think it was from the standpoint of, well, if you get down to the timing of this rule, there's no timing effect that governs when he chooses the dice. And that was, like, the real issue. And so they just said, nope, choose them when you activate it, which is the most logical way to do it anyway, which fixed all the other problems.
So I would revise my 2 upward if you take into account the like Recal Matrix and the other cards that let you then re-roll Malekith's dice pool. I think if it's just he can't explode all of his crits into or his skulls into skulls and have them all count, that's probably on the magnitude of 1 to 2 out of 100. It's a minor change. I think Recal is really good because Malekith goes in, he Dark Reigns, he absolutely annihilates a character and just like, nope, do it again. And this time you don't get to count any of your skulls. And all those hits and crits you rolled into now get rolled out of.
Mm-hmm. Well, you still have a much larger dice pool usually.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Maybe not much larger. You usually have a larger dice pool.
But the defender gets to choose when they use Recal, right?
True.
So if you don't...
But if in this situation, if you're playing Dark Reign, I think it's still pretty unlikely you're going to live through the second attack, even if you play Recal on one of them.
Well, if you're playing it correctly, you threw Malekith or did something with his positioning to where he only's going to get the one attack.
You're trying to, yeah. But I think the issue is, like, I think a lot of people have already come to the conclusion that Malekith is good but not broken. And so he's not, like, a huge meta bender already. He's just, like, the new hotness.
Yeah, that's true.
So in that concept, are you really putting Recal and all these, like, direct counter pieces into your list anyway? Like, some people will, but it's not like every list has Recal to stop him.
I think that the good lists are going to have Recal for a while as he remains popular. Yeah. There may be, because it's the easy thing to slot in that will auto fix, right? You have a Hulk. Oh, you just did 14 damage into me. Looks like, let's turn that into 4.
I would argue at the same rate that just putting, like, Trip Up in your list is just as effective.
Hard pass, no.
No? Okay.
So if you're playing Malekith and Asgard, Trip Up does nothing. Same thing for Winter
Sure,
Guard.
I mean, if they're playing things that directly strip negative effects, but who is that the popular thing? Everyone's playing him in Asgard?
Sure, yeah.
I think, okay, then I think he's playing a bad list in my opinion then, so I don't really care.
Okay.
I think that it is kind of cool that it does give some affiliations like a little bit of a leg, a tiny bit of a leg. Don't play these affiliations because you have a Malekith in your meta. But things like Spider Foes, like if he turns his defensive skull into a success, you can re-roll that now, and it doesn't just turn right back into something. I like it. It's cool.
Don't get me wrong. There's entirely the opportunity of, like, you have exceptional healing and Recal, and he charges Lizard and doesn't kill him. Like, that's very much on the table. But if you're spending 6 power and 2 Tactics cards to have him not KO somebody, I think that's not ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's I just, like I said before, I just really like that I read his card that's in front of me. I don't have to search for something that I can't even fucking Google. Like, I have to go somewhere. I have to go page by fucking page, like a card catalog in 1918, to find out what the fuck I need to do to play this game. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to say,
trying to find like a specific forum post on your phone is like the fucking worst thing ever.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm doing when I go to play games. That's not what I'm doing. But I feel like there's this quid pro quo where if I encounter something that I can't immediately figure out with the card, then I have to. I'm like, oh, Jesus, okay, ass grinding halt. Let's go ahead and pour through this thing. Ugh.
I sometimes wish I had the skill set to build like a website that was just like a database of all the like known rulings that people could just update, like a Wikipedia of rulings, basically, where it was just like sort by character name, Thor, Prince of Asgard. You click on his name and it's a drop down of like all the relevant rulings that have been made about things on his card, and you're just like, oh, says here like in this interaction this happens, and then just make them for tactics cards and missions as well, and like boom, you're done. Like it would instantly make me more interested in anything that's like updated rules, because I could just go online and check stuff and not go, well, I typed in Thor's name but I didn't type in Prince of Asgard, or I didn't type in like the name of his throw or some whatever his charge mechanic, like all this different things. I didn't think to type in this, or the thing he's interacting with, like I didn't think to type that in, so I didn't find the ruling. I hate forums in general, not specifically the rules forums. Just like I've never liked going to forums; they always seem annoying and archaic. If I'm playing a tabletop game, the odds of me stopping what I'm doing to search a forum is 0.
Yeah. Also, I like this from like a tournament perspective, a TO perspective. It's so nice when you can walk over and the person can say, "What does the card say?" And you go, "It says this." You go, "That's what it is." and then they walk away. Like, just like,
Mhm.
instead of, okay, I guess we got to consider maybe what could be possible. I hope, kind of like what you were saying, this is such a great decision. So I think ballsy and definite. I hope this is like portents for things to come. I hope this is a new stance they take whenever people, go on there and said, okay, I found this little, this little tiny, corner in the maze of a game, and if you do exactly the situation, this thing happens. What should happen? Is my model that I love immune to the game somehow? And they're just like, no, it's right there. Do it.
They've been doing this, and for the past 2 weeks, right? They said they're going to start going back through old rulings. So cards no longer throw people; people throw people. Right?
Yeah, that was another big one. That was huge.
Yeah.
My whole issue is that this is all just on, what date did you research the rules, and that's how you understand.
Right, yeah.
So I don't want to harp on that, but what they're doing is good.
I do wish they would update a lot of this. Like, this is something that needs to be on the FAQ. Like, this needs to be on the FAQ. The Tactics card thing needs to be put into the FAQ. The who rolls dice needs to be put into the FAQ. Like, these are serious game impacting things that need to, like, that's not like a specific interaction. That is game wide mechanic rules that need to be put somewhere on their website.
I have a question. Do you think I feel like in this game, and maybe I'm rose-colored glasses, or I hate rules forms so much that I just avoided them in all the other minis games I played. Do you think this game is more prone to this kind of shenanigans because of the intricacies of the characters, how they try to make the characters so flavorful, so all of them are so vibrant, or is it just the way that they have mishandled, and I don't want to go into all the details, but mishandled the rules for them, and it's kind of propagated and expanded.
Yeah.
So is it the game they made, or is it the rules they made?
So 2 things. Firstly, to respond to the way that they, however you want to phrase it, but the way that the reason the rules forum seem non-intuitive to the way that a lot of the rules are written is, I think the people on the rules forum who are curating this effectively like living question and answer thing are always looking at things from a very specific viewpoint, which is what does the letter of the law say? And I feel like the design team is much more in a spirit of the rule design point. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is a lot of the time when we get these like disjointed rulings that don't seem intuitive or, I don't know, thematic, or they just seem kind of backwards. Like, perfect example, the Thunderwave Tactics card hits Captain America, who is the point of origin, and does a damage to him, which in any logical standpoint nobody would assume would be the case. But technically, rules is written, that's what happens. And so they're not wrong. Like, they're technically answering the question correctly, but are they answering it rules as written or rules as intended? That's where I don't think anyone on the design team was like, yeah, and it needs to damage Captain America, so make sure he's not immune to it. And you're like, well, that clearly didn't happen. And so I think that's no one's fault. It's just a viewpoint kind of thing. The people are doing their job the best they can. And so I don't think it's anybody's fault, but it's just the way it has to be. That being said, I think the design team is starting to write rules probably from a more clear perspective, knowing that this is a situation. Onto the other point of, does the fact that we play a game that is only very specific characters with very fluffy and cool rules mechanics designed specifically for them mean that this happens more often? Absolutely yes.
Oh, okay.
So, like, if this was a game of, World War II historical model combat, like, your American paratroopers would have the I ignore cover rule, and that would be the end of their abilities, like, or whatever the exact situation. Like, your tank hunters would have +1 to this dice roll. Like, it's very like boring and monotonous and samey for all the factions, and the only difference is like point cost and skill. And so in this game where it's like, well, we need Ultron to come back to life. Well, that's not, like, in a normal rule set gonna be easy to do. And so they're taking on, I think, a very complicated design aspect that a lot of games don't have to put up with.
Yeah. Also, It's interesting. They don't get to make their own IP, right? So they're trying to create something that somebody else created and do it justice and honor it. And so when you make your own IP, you can go, well, in the game, I have this interesting mechanic I want to try. And so let's design a character that will allow us to create this mechanic because we know it's to be balanced. Instead, in this game, they're saying, I really want Rogue. What should Rogue do? You're like, okay.
Oh God.
You're like, okay, here we go. Like, you're not trying. They may not be. They're mostly. I think they're very character driven. They're very driven by the ethos of the characters.
Yeah. And honestly, I think they do a great job. Like
and they execute that really, really well.
Yeah,
but
the level
something's
of
got to
effort
give,
that
right?
they clearly put into the game to make sure Juggernaut feels like Juggernaut is 100% A+. Like, I see a lot of games where it's like, play the new Star Wars game. What does Obi-Wan do? +1 to initiative. You're like, man, that's so Obi-Wan. Like, fuck me. Like, this is the dumbest game I've ever seen. And it's just like, they just put artwork on it. Like, they clearly go the extra mile here to make sure, like the name of the ability is like, I can do this all day. Like, they clearly go every last metric. Like, perfect example, Malekith was supposed to be a dude standing there with a sword. And we got the Bog Tiger, Master of the 10 Realms, murder bot instead, because that's what they wanted. Like, well, if we're going to do Malekith, let's do Malekith. And, like, that's exactly what I want in my game. So props to them. I think everyone's doing their best. Everyone's learning. It's fun.
I didn't mind that at all. This was by far my favorite from the forums ever. By far.
Parker, I told you. I set it up intentionally to seem like it was going to be awful.
Yeah, man. You're like, let's do
Parker's like, oh my god, we're going to burn down the internet again.
You're just like, let's do for the forums. And I'm like, ugh.
I call it like I see it, and they're doing a good job.
There you go.
Good job.
Can I ruin it now with the second forum post today?
No!
Oh!
No! We got to save that for the post ramble,
Yeah.
or else all this goodwill will just be thrown in the trash.
Yeah.
I just want to tell anyone who's listening to ignore it. Can I do that? Do I have to do that later?
Yes, we'll cover that in the post ramble.
Post-ramble.
Anyone who wants to just read internet cancer, stay tuned for the post ramble.
Yeah, I was going to say, just stay blissfully ignorant of anything else that happened.
All right. So Parker, do you have any kind of cool, interesting information for our little baby ears?
Are we talking about the Comic Corner? Is that what you want?
Comic Corner,
okay.
Do it.
So I want you to know, Brandon, I have a Comic Corner that goes right along with some conversations we've had recently. The comic is called Drax, the Galaxy's Best Detective, which
it's on the paper. I just didn't read it.
Yeah, I know,
because I'm not interested in your Comic Corners.
Yeah,
this is where I go to the bathroom.
Isn't that like
that is
the
an
best
amazing comic title?
Yes, it's the best title. So, for those of you who don't know, Brandon and I are getting ready to play a D&D game, and one of our favorite kinds of games is when you play a lot of contradictory characters, right? The famous one on the internet is you play the half-orc thief who, instead of doing sneak checks, he just does intimidate checks. Like, he just walks up and goes,
no see grog.
You no see grog. And you go, yep, no see grog.
So the guy just turns 10 degrees to the left. Like, did you hear anything?
Yeah. So
Grog walks by.
Right. And so the idea behind this is it's 100%, it's a whole comic with that exact motif. Is Drax, who is definitely not the galaxy's best detective, is asked to be the best detective.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How many other characters in the galaxy can turn invisible? Not many, I'm betting.
No, probably not.
So he would actually make a pretty good detective, just saying.
I love the premise of it is the Guardians are on an adventure. They're all super duper tired of it. It was just like a exhausting adventure. So everybody decides they're going to go do something. And so Drax goes, I'll go with you. And they go, no, not me. He goes, oh, I can go with you. And he goes, nope, no thank you. And so he goes, ugh, I guess I'll go kill Thanos. And so that's how it starts. And so he basically just points himself in a straight line, like in space, and just hoping that it runs into Thanos. And comedy ensues. A spoiler alert, Thanos never appears in the comic because so many other things happen to him. But everywhere he goes, he basically finds, trouble, or trouble finds him, and he has to, decipher how to solve this mystery. But he doesn't decipher anything. He's just frustrated because he can't just destroy it. It's always some mystery. And so finally he finds out who the bad guy is with the help of some unlikely allies from the Marvel cosmic universe. I've only read the first one. Apparently there's the second one and it hasn't been made yet. I guess this is the first one that's been printed. I don't know if the next one's out yet. But I'm really excited to see how this story concludes. I'm really hoping he finds Thanos at the very end and he's already dead or something, and he's just very frustrated by that, because that seems like a perfect ending to this. It's been really, really fun to read. So if you want to see, if you like seeing characters out of their element, if you like seeing, also the greater cosmic universe, because it's not a Guardians of the Galaxy title, right? So it's not going to be about Silver Surfer and Galactus. It's going to be about all these other side cosmic characters that appear only sometimes, and of course Drax has to beat them and be frustrated by them. So really fun read.
All right. So you're telling me that the odds of Drax actually tracking down Thanos through detective work was low?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not spoiling anything. Like, my favorite part is he decides he's going to go kill Thanos, and Rocket immediately says, "Whoa! How are you going to kill Thanos? Like, we're on this random planet." He goes, "I'll find a ship." He goes, "There are no ships. It's a random planet. Like, it's just, this is not a spacefaring race." And he goes, "Do you have a ship, right?" He goes, "Well, yeah, I've always got ships." He goes, "Well, give me a ship." And so he gives him functionally like a telephone booth with an engine on the back, just like. And he goes, "This is not a ship." He goes, "It'll be fine. It'll be great." And so, as the ship is kind of hurtling with very little navigation system, like nothing is working, Drax is getting frustrated. Eventually, the ship tells him the atmospheric seals are failing. It's about to explode, and he goes, "Finally, something interesting." And so it does. It explodes and rockets him into space, and he's happy because he's no longer in this horrible spaceship. Like, if that sounds like a great way to start an adventure, that's the theme of this whole thing.
And if I'm correct, Drax in the comics is very different than Drax and Dave Bautista.
Yeah, they're not.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not.
He's not just pure comic relief.
Right.
He's just somewhat dim.
Yeah. Well, the idea he's very focused. Think half orc from D&D. Like, it's very much what he is. Like, super high strength, super high constitution, very little intelligence.
Okay.
But he is
cool.
He is wise. He is wise.
Mm-hmm. Beyond his years.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Aaron.
And this has been The Gang Conquers the Forums.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
We did it!
What a
Hooray.
Fantastic burp. Show.
What? I've been noticing more and more I sound like Rick when I talk, just randomly I'll burp in the middle of the sentence. I'm not trying to, it just happens more now.
I've noticed you're like Rick a lot, like, since I first saw the character ever.
Oh.
It's just the general cynicism.
Because I'm so smart, right?
No, it's the cynicism and nihilism that rings true, I think.
Okay.
Also, the disdain for humanity, like...
In any form of authority.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like his line, you hated the government, so you formed your own government. Like, that is like precisely a Brandon line. Like, you would immediately go, "You guys are being really, really stupid." Like, that's the idea.
Yeah.
And you would not be ashamed to tell them to their face while on trial. Like, that would be the perfect time to tell them.
Well, yeah, you have a platform to call them out on their bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but last week's podcast came out late, and I think I said in our Discord channel why it came out late, and I posted on Facebook vaguely what happened. But I was going to tell you guys. So that way you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember last week where I was like, Parker, make sure your backup is running because my computer might crash, and I don't want it to crash and us to lose the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I had been getting this artifacting, which is basically when your visual display on your computer starts showing like repeated graphical glitches where you get like dots or like snowflakes or something, or like a lot of times you get like rectangles like repeating themselves all over your screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is that's basically a sign that your graphics card's failing. And so I go to work the next day, come home to edit the podcast, and my computer won't boot and had crashed. And I was like, uh-oh, that's a problem. And so when it boots up, I just get both of my monitors are covered in these white rectangles. I'm like, well, that's bad. So it's a huge hassle to pull my desktop out from my computer desk. And so I finally got around to doing it. And I run some testing. I run a monitor cable to one of my monitors, and I've got it sitting on my big table next to the computer. And I pull the graphics card out. I put in an old graphics card, and it seems to boot up okay, but it looks really bad. And so I was like, well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right one. It could be that like Windows is corrupted, and part of that like destroyed my video drivers or something. So I unplug my main hard drive and try and boot off one of my old hard drives, and it boots just fine. And so I try a third graphics card. That one's okay. I go back to the original graphics card. It's still fucked. So pretty sure it's the graphics card. And so I go to Micro Center. But thank God, video cards have finally come down in price. They're not triple retail anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I go there, and I had a buddy tell me basically what I should buy. And so they had an open box one, basically saying somebody had returned. But it had like tested, approved, still works fine. So I buy that. Drive home. It's about a 30-minute drive. Plug it in my system. Boots up just fine. Put everything back. Turn it on. Fire up my video editing software, and immediately the computer crashes. And I'm like, well, that's not good. And then it won't boot. And so I'm like, okay, well, shit. Pull it all apart. Same thing. Diagnose the problem again. It's the new video card. It was DOA, basically. And so as soon as you put any kind of graphical load on it, the card failed and caused the system failure. So then I drive back across town 2 hours later to return this graphics card and buy a new graphics card because they only had the one open box. When I get there, I discover they've sold out of this graphics card while I was gone, which is very rude, by the way. So I drove across town twice, which probably spent $30 in gas, just fucking getting a new graphics card. And I get there, they don't have any graphics cards of that variant or anything similar. They only have like an entire series up, and so I can spend $400 on a graphics card instead of $200, or I can just go online. So I end up having to buy one on Amazon and paying for next day delivery. And then finally get the new one installed, and everything's working fine now. After spending 4 hours of fighting with NVIDIA to get the new drivers downloaded, now I can actually edit videos
Jesus.
and podcast stuff again.
That was like a Benny Hill saga.
Yeah.
Like this.
Well, it wouldn't have been so bad, except I picked up a bunch of overtime because all of our employees took some time off. And so I took 7 hours off for the Chiefs game on Thursday, because I normally only work 3 days, the 13-hour shifts. So I took 7 of my normal hours off and then worked 25 hours of overtime. That's how much extra time I worked over the weekend. And I was trying to deal with this graphics card situation while working the overtime. So it's like,
Nice.
I can't go to a store while I'm working, so my only day I could do anything was Sunday. And so I ended up having to install the new card on Monday. But luckily I was able to get the podcast posted on Sunday at least.
So you're good for
job.
something. Well done.
So for example, it used to take about an hour and 40 minutes to edit one of our battle reports and post it. Aaron, the last battle report of yours I uploaded, or I edited, after I got the new card in, only took 30 minutes.
Nice.
And so I can actually edit multiple videos in a day now, which is nice. So how was your guys' week?
Mine was righteously badass.
Oh.
Okay,
Well,
you go
that's
first.
Yeah.
Just
Normal shit.
yeah, I was gonna say just a regular Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But I started the instructional league volleyball that we have at our school. Our middle school does cuts for the competitive league, or competitive side of it. So there's 3 teams, but we always have upwards of 80 to 100 girls come out, and the reason why is because I run an instructional league that is legit. We try really hard to make it something special, so we that we do official teams, and every girl gets a coach. They all get jerseys. They're just like the real thing. We open up the gym for a round robin, so everybody plays everybody. While the other competitive teams on our away games and the gyms are open, that's when we do that. And we run the scoreboard. We play the national anthem. I get on the PA. It looks totally legit. It's an intramural league, so we're only playing against other teams at our school. But the school is so huge, and there's so many girls in it. It's very legit. It's a super fun. Every single year, I have students that are like, "Oh, I didn't get the competitive team. I'm not going to have any fun." And then at the end of the year, they say, "I just want to do instructional league next year." And so they come back and do it again. It's a blast. We have a lot of fun. And today was the very first game, so I am completely exhausted because I coached / refed / ran a giant middle school event for the past 3 hours after I taught for 8. So I'm done for, but I'm also excited because it worked. It went very, very well.
Cool.
Good.
Aaron.
Well, my son came down with the coronavirus.
Oh my god.
I know. So I've been avoiding him like the literal plague. He goes back to school tomorrow, though. Sure, everything's good there. Everyone else in our house seems to have not gotten it. So
Nice.
otherwise, I amused myself in my basement dungeon with a new computer game called Across the Obelisk, which has been pretty good. I've enjoyed it.
Nice.
I think I've heard of this.
It sounds vaguely familiar.
I think it just came out of early release recently. It's a roguelike in the vein of Monster Train or Slay the Spire.
Mm-hmm.
I played both of those. I love both of those.
Yeah. This one you have 4 different decks. You have 4 heroes. You can play multiplayer if you want. And then you level up each hero's deck. So you're playing with 4 different heroes with 4 different decks at the same time. Which is not as complicated as that probably sounds.
I'm vaguely interested in playing the new Marvel Midnight Suns video game that apparently should be out soon, if it's not out already. And then also I'm vaguely interested in trying out Baldur's Gate 3. It's in early access, but it's not done yet.
Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is, from what I understand, because I've never actually played one, it's very much like a D&D port, right? It's actually precisely...
it's like XCOM D&D, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I like turn-based strategy games, but there's just not that many of them out there. So it's hard to find good ones.
I love turn-based strategy. I've got a lot of them.
It's also really nice because, like, if I'm editing the podcast, it's a lot of press this button, wait 2 minutes, press this button, wait 2 minutes.
Wait,
and so
Baldur's Gate is turn-based? I did not know that.
It's RPG, really.
Yeah.
As opposed to turn-based strategy. I think they're different.
Yeah, I did not think it was like you waited. I thought it was like a third-person RPG. Am I wrong?
Like Diablo?
Yeah, that was like
Diablo's an ARPG, which is more focused on the hack and slash. But
so
Baldur's Gate
I haven't looked at it, but yeah, the only Baldur's Gate I ever played was on Xbox, and it was like the Baldur's Gate blah 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 like version, which was a action RPG where you just run. It was basically Diablo. You run around and slash stuff up, and then but it's got D&D like flavoring and skinning, and so like you can go get the +1 sword, and then you can go like cast fireball on this guy, but it's more of just like a hack and slash joystick game, but Corey was telling me that normally Baldur's Gate is a like click to move here. There's a grid system. It's turn based, and it's more like XCOM.
And I learned something today.
I mean, maybe he's completely wrong. I guess let's check. Opening Steam.
Was XCOM?
XCOM was the turn-based,
turn-based?
sci-fi game.
Yeah.
Humans versus aliens.
I played it. I've never been huge into the
Squad
RPGs.
tactics,
I've
yeah.
liked the ARPGs more just to mindlessly kill monsters.
I never got to play Diablo 2 because it was like before my time. I played it. I was really young, and I played it on like PlayStation 1. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was like, you just run around and there's these like red balls and blue balls, and I didn't know what the fuck was happening. And so,
well, they just came out with the remastered version of Diablo 2.
I heard that. I took one look at the graphics and said, "This is remastered," and never looked at it again.
I love Diablos.
Steam
I love
password.
I already gave Brandon my 2 weeks for whenever Diablo 4 comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably play with you if it's not like a busy time. I played a shitload of Diablo 3. I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. I have hundreds and thousands of hours of it.
It was definitely a shitty like initial launch, I would say, with the way the drop rates and everything. But once they fixed that, it was good.
Yep. It's still probably good now if you wanted to just pick it up and keep playing it. I'm sure I still have it loaded.
Really changed. Yeah. Okay, so let's search for. This is great content. Baldur's Gate 3.
Wait, why are we doing this right now? What is?
Because reasons. Shut the fuck up. Okay. New class, the Bard. Okay. Well, if this is in-game footage, it looks amazing.
That's not new. Bard's been around for a bit.
Fuck you. All right, let's see. Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks like a much better looking Diablo 3. It's got buttons. It looks to be some kind of strategy mechanic. It is top down. Is it turn-based? Based on where people are standing, it looks pretty turn-based. Let's see, early access. Very positive reviews. Players like you love this game. I know someone who owns this game. Just tell me it's single player, online, co-op, LAN co-op, Steam Cloud. Where's the... Okay, here we go. Adventure, RPG, strategy, early access. Is it... Just tell me if it's turn-based. 0 videos as well. All pictures. Fine. Yeah, I don't see anything about turn-based in here, but it looks turn-based, hopefully. If it's action, then I probably won't play it. We'll see. If it was action, I'd probably just play Diablo instead. Anyway. Video games. I try to stay away from video games at this point because they just eat too much of my time.
No such thing.
Yeah.
Although my painting backlog has not made progress this past week, so there's that.
All right. Cool.
Are either of you guys planning on going to the T-shirt explosion 3-box challenge on the 10th of September?
What?
Next week?
10th.
No. Yeah, next week.
Sure.
I did not know it was a thing. I am now aware of it. Odds are low.
Okay.
Mostly because I'll probably be working.
I may go. We'll see.
If you go, there's a chance I'll go. We'll see.
Okay.
I mean, if somebody's already driving, that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, that's the may go. Perrin's probably out. That kind of sucks.
3-box challenge is in addition to core?
Yes. It's 10 a.m. and it's like what, 3.5 hours from here?
It's basically 4 from my house. Is it a straight shot south from you? You have to come over to like 69, right?
Let's see.
Because basically you go through Joplin. I don't know if there's a highway that goes to Joplin from Warrensburg.
Springdale, Arkansas. It has me paralleling. It has me taking 49 down to Joplin.
I don't know what that means. Is 49?
It's the highway, yeah, that runs south. That parallels 69.
Okay, so we wouldn't be able to meet up very easily.
Unless we found a place to stash one of our cars in Butler, Missouri.
Yeah, maybe Joplin. We could stash it in Joplin probably, but that's like an hour and a half in already.
Yeah.
What time does the tournament start?
10. It'd be an early.
Yeah, get up at 5 to play in a 3-box.
It's a 4-round event.
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Depends on how many of them come to our tournament.
I don't know. I may go. We'll see. I may even drive down the night before, which makes a lot more sense. Although I'm not really sure that's worth a hotel, but we'll see. Maybe.
I would be willing to bet that Brent would allow you to stay at his place.
Well then, I guess I could.
In which case, I would also be willing to go down on Friday. I feel like I'm forgetting something that's on that Friday. Oh, I remember what that is. Parker, do you know what that is?
What Friday?
It's September 9th. You're the worst D&D player.
Oh, yeah, we're playing a D&D game.
God damn it.
I have to look at my calendar.
I have to look at my calendar. Did you put it on your calendar? Are you good to go for the 9th?
I put it on my calendar, yeah.
I'm expecting 3 people to say, oh, I can't do that day.
It's on the old calendar. I have to remember what weeks we're doing it because those are the weeks I have to give something up. So that I can be sure to do it.
So yeah, I probably will not drive down the day before then. Unless you want to leave super fucking late. And by late, I mean like 1 a.m.
1 a.m.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday.
Probably. Yeah. No.
But at that point, I just don't sleep and drive to your house.
Okay.
Honestly, you know what? I might actually do that. That actually sounds good.
Do what?
Finish D&D, wait 3 hours, drive to Aaron's house. Go play Marvel the next day.
Get in the car. Sleep in the car on the drive down.
I mean, I won't sleep, but I'll relax.
So
on
what
the ride
is
down.
the event?
It's a 3-box, and so you basically get the core set and 3 MCP releases of your choice. So, like, for example, if you chose Juggernaut, you only get Juggernaut, versus, like, if you chose... although now with the affiliation boxes, I assume that's not allowed.
Ooh.
That's never been a thing before. But let's say you chose the Corvus Glaive Proxima Midnight box and Thanos. That's 2 of your 3 boxes.
Mhm.
And so, like, for example, anyone who... You would generally, logically want to choose a bunch of 2-person boxes.
Mhm.
So you got a bunch of stuff. And primarily boxes that include 1 affiliation for the most part. But that's not necessarily the only logic behind it. You can also just build a really good mercenary list.
It
gonna
says
say-
3 character box of their choice, so I guess you could use the combined affiliation ones that are out.
That seems
I mean,
like cheating.
I think the argument would be they're not character boxes, they're affiliation boxes, but I don't know how nitpicky they get on that. I would assume that you can't, because that would be broken. You would end up with, like, 20 models on your roster.
Well, there's only 2 of them out so far, right? Asgard and
Yeah,
Black
but
Order?
you could do Black Order, Asgard, and Thanos as your 3 boxes. Or just
Yeah.
say fuck Thanos and, like, do, I don't know, X-23 and Honey Badger.
Oh, they asked a question on August 26th. Can you use the affiliation boxes? They have not yet responded to that.
How rules form of them?
Not responding?
It starts. Parker's like, God damn it.
I was just looking at my list of things to do for the next 12 weeks, and that was there.
Yeah, remind me next week, but I think there's a reasonable chance I'll go with you if you're still interested at the time.
Okay.
God, we're gonna live like 2 hours apart soon. That's gonna be weird.
It is. No more Friday morning trysts.
Google's tryst. I'm very confused now. I now know less than I did before.
Exactly where I want you.
You mean gloomy Friday mornings? All right, let's get into it. Are you guys ready?
Oh yeah.
I was born ready.
Okay.
News.
We don't do that anymore.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Terrible.
It's season 2. You forgot that we do Discord now. I forgot news.
No, I remembered. It's like when you answer the phone. You're like,
what you just said, it's time to do news. I immediately kicked on, like answering the phone.
yeah, I know, but it's like you answer the phone like your home phone. And you're like, yeah. Thanks for calling the Geekery. This is Brandon.
Yeah.
And you're like, shit, it's telemarketer.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
I don't know how many times I almost told some other woman I loved them on the phone.
Yeah.
Like, just hanging up.
Don't
Love
forget,
you, bye.
you're my
I'm
number one customer, and you hang up on your mom.
like...
I gave up the ghost. I just say it now. I just own it. Just immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter who.
All right.
I don't know if conquer so much as allows the forums.
Tolerates. The
Yeah.
game tolerates. The
No. I think accolades, right? We champion the forums. We were
The king champions the forums.
Yeah.
We've been here since the beginning.
Yeah.
We were the first forum posts.
The gang exercises extreme discipline to not burn the forums down.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I don't know how much you helped me when you told me that they don't actually post the forums like the forum posts immediately, like, and they have to get approved. I was like, oh god, you just saved me so much mental frustration, because I was going to basically go to war on the forums over this fucking rule.
Okay, so tell me what this other one was that makes us all.
Oh no, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Good God.
So no, but like this exact situation, because it was a culmination of the Grand Illusion ruling and lots of people on the internet saying that Recal would just count the new skulls too. And I'm like, that is literally functionally impossible. There is no verbiage anywhere that supports that logic. And like, yeah, it just does. I'm like, who fucking said this? Like, who said that it works that way? I could understand if you're like, well, I paid for 5. I've only used 3. You pay Recal. and now I'll choose to use the last two. Like, I can understand that. I think it's stupid and unintuitive, but I understand the logic point, right? Like, you are standing really close to the lava, but you're on solid ground. I get it. Like, like the concept of just count any number of skulls in the recal. I'm like, you're just Anakin on fire. Like, there is nothing left of this conversation. Like, and so anyway, that's how it felt. I feel like we're hiding this last topic.
I just want to know what it is. I want you to tell me, please. Just put me out of my misery.
Have you, Parker? Do you ever see the videos where they're like, "Hey, this video is just for the boys, so we're gonna rate these Xbox games. So if you're not one of the boys, go ahead and turn this video off."
Mm-hmm.
And then it waits 3 seconds and it cuts. Like, all right, I'm actually going to replace the catalytic converter in my car with a straight pipe. So now that it's really just the boys, go ahead and stay tuned for this. And then you wait 5 seconds and you're like, guys, I'm gonna reshim my bathroom door. So now we know it's really just the boys. So how do I reshim my door? And then it does this like 6 or 8 times. And then it gets there. He's like, okay, so now it's really just the boys. I'm supposed to shave my asshole, but I don't know how to do that. Do I get a second person involved? Because right now, I don't have anyone in my life that's at that level of commitment, and I really don't know what to do. I need help. Like, so it's just like he's just so afraid to say that he had to like do these multiple levels of like shell game to get the regular people to tune out, so he doesn't get blown up in the comments.
Yeah.
He's like, how do I shave my asshole? I don't understand. Like, I need help. Like, it's great.
That's
I feel like
wonderful.
that's this topic.
Yeah.
This is the shave the asshole topic. All right, Aaron, do you want to tell him what the problem is? Or first tell him what the problem is, and then tell him what the post was.
Lay me on me.
Okay, here's the question. If there's a spot on the board where a model won't fit because of model overhang, specifically Malekith and Wings, but any model, can they be placed there? The answer... Go ahead.
Well, hold on. You're just putting the horse right underneath the cart.
Sorry.
So the specific interaction is that there is model overhang, not anything else. So like the base fits, the volume is correct, but because the model is dynamic, they cannot physically be in that space. For example, let's say one of the common ones is there's 2 apartment buildings exactly ranged 2 apart, and you try and put Malekith in the middle between them. His base fits, but his wings are like this, so he hits the buildings and can't fit there.
Well, you can't turn him sideways because there's something else. Like
let's say there's a Juggernaut. He wants to be base to base with a Juggernaut. So you can't turn him because then he'll look Juggernaut, and then he also can't
Sentinels.
fit.
Perfect example. Sentinels come out. I have 3 Sentinels in a circle. Can Malekith be in between them?
Well, that's Sentinel proof. That's the Malekith proof. That's called the Malekith formation.
Yeah, the anti-Malekith flying V.
Yeah. So
what's your answer, Parker? What do you do?
Oh, if a model cannot literally be placed there? Well, I know what I would do.
Okay, what would you do, Parker? The player.
I would say, hey, just get like your Hulk out or something and put him right there for a second, so we can play this game.
Can I say what I would do? Because I think this is actually the most logical, obvious fix.
No, he can't.
Okay, well I'm gonna do it anyway. I would take the Malekith, confirm that he doesn't actually fit in the space we're trying to go, but confirm that the base does fit. And then I would windmill smash it onto the ground, pick up the base and put it on the table.
Yeah. That's
like, go fuck yourself.
Like, I mean, there have been lots of games that I have played, where I always had a spare base with all the markings I needed on it because that kind of shit happens. It happens at X-Wing, it happened in War Machine. Like, it happens.
In those games, there's usually some kind of governing factor around what happens in those situations. Because of the proxy-based situations that occurred in competitive War Machine, they are absolutely against that happening. So they are super, like, xenophobic against proxy bases and refuse to allow them in any necessary situations. So, Aaron, what was the official ruling from Will Pagani himself?
From the man, the ruling is... if a miniature cannot physically fit somewhere, it cannot move there.
So now,
can I rant?
Sure. What's up?
Okay.
Yes, actually, I want to hear it.
Good, rant. Okay, 2 minutes. Cut me off after 2 minutes.
So this is what? Go.
Okay, I am literally upset, like pissed. This is a problem that they fucking created by making a model or models so large that it won't fit in the fucking base that you use to play your game. And now you're going to tell me I can't strategically attack realistically move a model from point A to point B because you, the company, decided to not put a model on the correct base size for the model? Oh my god! Yes, I'm animated because it's stupid. Not only that, but it generates negative play experiences. I've had to switch my Juggernaut around multiple times to put him in like ass backward. Because depending on how you glue on the model, he's probably going to overhang somewhere. And that overhang, when you're trying to be base to base with someone, because you have to be, because you actually slide into them, multiple times I've had to turn them around. Okay, well, what if my Juggernaut's facing your Malekith, and you try to come up to me, but I'm the one overhanging that won't let you move into that position that you deserve to be in? Not because of your model, but because of mine? Now you can't move there? What the ever-loving bejesus? So I'm going to say like, could you turn your model around so I can fit there? And you're going to say, no, fucking suck it. That is horseshit. And the fact that they created that possible negative play experience with that ruling blows my mind. Okay, less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think you had 30 seconds.
Am I overreacting?
My favorite.
Yes.
Can I just say
are overreacting?
Can I just say my favorite part of that rant?
Go. Yeah.
That's an Aaron rant, and his like tip top of like his most venomous language was "holy freaking bejesus."
He's like the Philip Rivers of swearing.
I know it's. I love it. Never change, Aaron. That's not the point of what you said, though. I heard.
I noticed that you're playing with a knife. Is this like you're just like biding your time?
But yeah. Anyone who's listening to this, while it's sultry sugar coming out of his mouth, he's definitely doing the knife game where he's smashing him in between his fingers. He's daring.
He's dual wielding those fucking butterfly knives with lightning speed. It's like a training montage.
So tell me why I'm not overreacting to this.
I think you are overreacting because this is not going to actually change the way anyone plays. Primarily also, this rarely actually comes up. If you want to get into the minutia here, which we can talk about, I think it's actually way worse than you think it is. Like, it's more catastrophically problematic. If people were to lose their fucking minds over this, it could get that bad. So if we're going to break it down, and this is exactly why, like, the rules forum, while, like, sometimes it's amazing and sometimes I don't like it, this is the exact situation I don't like it. Technically, in the rule book, when do you rotate a model?
Never.
Exactly. Like, there's no rules in the game for rotating models. So if you're pushing your Juggernaut, he should always be in the same orientation you deployed him in. Unless he gets placed, he should be in the exact same orientation.
Or advanced.
No, I don't. There's no rules for rotating your models while advancing.
It just says must be placed somewhere along the template, right?
It says moves along the template. I don't believe he doesn't get picked up. He advances along the template. And in all of the examples, they show them keeping orientation because it's a side by side. And so, but more specifically, I'm not even talking about like moving. Obviously, when you place them, you can rotate them. I would argue that anytime the model is advanced or moved in any way, you can rotate the model. And there could be a rule in there about that. But I'm talking about more specifically, like, you've got your Juggernaut in a position, and Malekith charges him. Hey, can you rotate your Juggernaut for me? There's absolutely nothing in the game that allows that to happen. Not like governs it, but literally does not allow it to happen. You cannot move a model without an effect moving it. Like, you can't reach down and rotate your model. You're placing it in its exact same location, assuming you're doing it correctly. But more often than not, people aren't that accurate with their placements. But
I would agree with you.
It's like,
yes.
Even if you get out a maneuver tool, lock it into its base, and rotate them with a guide, that's not allowed by the rules. You're moving that model.
Concur.
So, like, if we got to this point, well, it's like, okay, well, how many models? Like, X-23. It's like, well, I need to stand on the objective, but, like, you're here, so I can't. Like there's so many times it's like, so if we're saying that, like, now we get into how do you assemble your models? How much percentage of your model do you have to use? What is modeling for advantage? Because if you put magnets in your wings and take them off during a game because your model would not otherwise fit, how is that fair? That is objectively altering the model to give you a game state advantage.
Is that any different than not putting the wings on to begin with?
Yes. Both of them are that.
But does it meet your legal 50% requirements?
I don't know.
Right.
I would say no. As a player, I would say no, you can't just partially assemble your model. Because now I'm just going to cut every one of my models off at the waist so you can't tell who they are.
Right, and that's my point, right?
Yeah, it's like, where does it end? And so, like, if we're gonna get into the minutia of like this stupid, like, pedantic argument crap, like, that's not a game I want to play. And so, I don't think this rule is actually gonna affect anybody. Like, it would have to be such a fucking weird situation that this would be a relevant ruling, right? Like, I'm trying to think of, like, when this would matter.
So I think that there will be numerous occasions where Malekith, specifically being the most egregious, will not fit in a specific location.
Malekith is somewhat... He's obviously the largest overhang, right? So that's why everyone references him.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of characters like X-23. It's like, well, I'm going to move here, but like her claw overhangs like a dumpster or something.
Yeah.
I was like, well, this is weird. It's like, what happens, like, I just put X-23 on a point. What happens when I, like, just modify my models to have hula hoops and you can't stand near them? Like, I don't know. like.
So, I really hope you're right, and I
Magneto.
think you are, that the community is going to not give a shit about this. And people are going to be like, I'm playing this game for the mental puzzle that it presents me that I like to take my time and energy to fix. As well as I just love playing superheroes and throwing shit around. Right? We're playing a game to have fun.
Yeah.
So I want competitively to beat you while you're playing your best strategic and tactical self. So I want you to be able to move where you're supposed to be able to move, regardless of what the model's physical limitations are. Let's put it that way.
So I have a question. How many times in the games you have played, Aaron, or observed, has a model not been able to stand somewhere because of model base overhang due to terrain? Somewhere that was supposed to stand.
Maybe once. Now,
maybe once.
Having
Can you give
said
me an
this,
example?
Not specifically.
Okay.
I think there was an
So
issue
you
with
cannot
jugs at one point in
recall-
time. And I've only played Malekith on the table like 3 or 4 times. But I could imagine those 3 or 4 times there have been models knocking into each other, right? You know, judge, game state, what's the issue? Because I turned Malekith and all of a sudden he just knocked your domino over or something. Anyway, I can foresee some issues specifically with Malekith in the future where you would need a proxy base or a Hulk or something to that effect for a very short period of time. My rant is just that they create very cool models and then tell you that you can't play with them.
But, I mean, they're not saying that, right? Like
They absolutely
you
are.
100%
If
they're
you
not,
want
though.
to play the game competitively, you need to cut everything off of Malekith in that circular cylinder so that there's
that
no
sounds
overhang.
like fear mongering, like, because like how, like, this has to happen before it's actually penalizing, and I don't think it's really going to happen. Like, I'm thinking of all of the situations in which this is relevant, because the measurements in this game are very forgiving. They're like range 3 inches, range 2 inches, like spaces you need to stand in, and it's so hard. Like when Pentagram of Farley came out, we tried to block that thing off. It's like, we're going to build a list with all medium-based models and make it to where your opponents can't go through the portal. And it's like, it's so hard because the space is so forgiving.
Well, here's
that
the
you need
worst
to
thing.
stand
Malekith can probably actually abuse this if he wanted to, right?
Yeah, like put his, like, stand around a corner and put his wing there.
Yeah,
like, you can't stand
you
here.
can't come,
Yeah.
you can't contest the objective anymore.
Yeah. But again, even doing that, the objective would have to be in such a weird place to make that doable with even 2 large base models, let alone 3.
So TBD if it would be an A, I hope it's never an issue because people should never care about it. B, if they
I'm
did,
saying even if people did, I don't think it's actually as relevant as some people are feared. Specifically, you are afraid it's going to be. I'm thinking like
my
1 in
fear is
100
mainly
games.
from the company's standpoint. The correct answer should have been, we made a bunch of awesome models that we want to see you guys enjoy painting and playing with. And I don't want to see you guys having to change how they're posed just to be able to play the game in a competitive sense. Obviously, reformat that somehow, but that would have been what I would have hoped the response would have been.
Well, I mean, I think you're being a little harsh on them. I don't see how he can answer that question any other way. I know that you're viewing it as an attack on dynamic models, but what is he supposed to stay there? Just do something like, just move the models. Like, he can't, what is the other option?
Use a large base that you have lying around to temporarily be Malekith while he will not fit.
Well, but we know the company is objectively against proxy basing, and while we as players are not, they are. Like,
then they should never have made a model that overhangs their base.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's a fail.
I understand like the fear that it's going to cause serious issues in a game, but
I don't think it will. I think most people. I love this community. People have been great. A bunch of great people playing this game. So I'm not really worried that it's going to go down a rabbit hole. Having said that, there will probably be someone somewhere who decides to be like, nope, you can't go there.
So for me,
because of this ruling, and that upsets me.
The base overlapping thing is way more of an issue in the game. Like the train overlapping is way more of an issue than this ever will be. Even if you played against the worst person ever to try and make it an issue, like he's built his models and playing for this to be an issue. I think like, oh, you're just on this car and I can't stand there, so fuck me, I guess. Like that is way more of a problem than this will ever be. So I'm rereading the overlapping rules right now. If an effect would cause 2 or more models' bases to overlap, the character can't end its move there. The character cannot end a movement with its base partially overlapping a terrain feature. Its base must be entirely on top of or not overlapping a terrain feature to the end of its movement. The character thrown or pushed would end up movement overlapping. Character's base terrain feature. It stops along the movement tool. At the last position, it was not overlapping a character's base or a terrain feature. If character miniature base can't physically fit in and balance on top of terrain, the character ends its movement there. Character can never move off the battlefield or be thrown off the battlefield. Okay, so yeah, that seems consistent with what it says here. Like he's literally just quoting the rulebook.
The problem is the rulebook says base in every instance.
No, it says miniature or base.
Okay.
Here, let me see. Where'd the Pagani post come from?
Maybe it's a deep fake. Maybe it didn't actually exist.
No, I think he literally quoted the rulebook. Oh no, he didn't. He paraphrased. If a character's miniature or base can't physically fit and balance on top of a terrain feature, the character cannot end its movement there. He basically quoted the rulebook. Yeah, maybe we'll take some time and try to create a situation in which this is a serious issue. And if we can find that, and where it's like, hey, if you combine this piece of terrain with Malekith, and on certain missions, you can just create a serious problem. And then I would definitely be more in the afraid camp.
Okay. We'll see what we can do. Again, I hope it's not an issue because no one's going to play with that rule. But
yeah, I mean that is the rule. Like, there's no other way to play it. If you want to say that, like, most people will like rotate their models to allow you to fit, like, I'm trying to think of a situation where you can't just rotate Malekith to fit. Like, it's such a weird spot that you're like trying to jam him in between 3 things.
Okay, we'll see. I'll play Malekith a bunch and we'll see. And I'm not going to intentionally try to break this, but I'm just going to see if it comes up.
Yeah.
But
I have never had a spot where it's like the model itself was causing the problem. And obviously Malekith is the biggest offender and he just came out, so that's relevant information. But there's people that overhang somewhat, and it's never been a problem.
One of the things about it is there are a lot of models in the game that are really tall. Like, anybody who's ever tried to put like most of their collection in a bag at the same time will tell you that there are a lot of models in this game that are just, for some reason, so much taller. Like Storm and Ebony Maw, they're just really high up on the base. So if you make a model that overhangs, and you make it overhang, even 4 or 5 inches off the ground, there's still models in the game that are going to get clipped by it. So, but you have to have all those models in a
right, but it's only overhanging in like a 3-inch like arc on 2 sides of the model.
Right.
And so all you need is like for the other 300 degrees of the model to be able to be rotatable into those spots.
Yeah, I think
so you have to be surrounded on either like directly opposite sides.
I think the easiest,
all the way around.
I think the easiest way is going to be there's a shop on one side, so it eliminates that 180, and 2 characters on the other side. They're tall characters. And so if you got them at 340 degrees and 190 or 200 degrees, that window
I think
becomes
it
impossible.
Still requires at least 3 though.
Right.
Because then that's it. If you're just picturing a triangle, his wings easily fit in the middle, right? Like
no.
Those you have to.
I'm not picturing triangle. I'm picturing like he's trying to stand next to a kiosk, and you need one of the wings out. Well, sorry, you need both of the wings like more or less parallel with the kiosk, right? Because he can't.
Right, but and I have to look at the model again, but I'm pretty sure you can rotate him like butt towards the building.
Mhm.
The butt
and put
sticks
him
out
down
too.
and his wings won't hit it. Does what?
The butt sticks out too.
How far?
I'm guessing a quarter to half an inch.
Oh man, it's really. I think it'll be really easy to trap him with a bigger piece of terrain. That being said, okay, I guess.
But like he also has to want to try and stand in that exact spot.
the one
And
thing.
so like arguably there'd have to be like a reason you need to like get exact range on something,
Right.
but also or like put an objective right there.
So
I will say that the one thing I was going to say about it, and I do agree with Aaron, is I feel like they've done a really good job of this game making everything inside of that cylinder. Even models like X-23 who hang over maybe a quarter of an inch, if you pull her all the way back on that base, you can get her really, really close. There are very few models that don't fit neatly into that cylinder until Malekith. He's just wildly outside of it. So I feel like he's got the biggest bone to pick with it by far. Here's another bit, which is I have seen so many awesome Magnetos like yours, Brandon. So many
Yeah.
super cool ones, and a lot of them hang over the base. If you make a really cool scenic model, like a really awesome one, and you purposely designed it and you built it, away from the base, this rule actively penalizes you for doing that. Actively penalizes you for putting some cool debris floating around Magneto, as a good example.
Yes. It always has, like since
Yeah.
the invention of the game.
Um,
It just rarely matters.
right.
I think you're missing ways to take advantage of if you wanted to. Like if I'm the Malekith player, I could position between two pieces of terrain and point the wing toward my enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to know how you're going to get a Hulk to within 2 of me to hit me.
I think he just stands within 2 of you. Like I don't think there's any point on Malekith where Hulk cannot be within 2 of you
Okay.
due to your own obstruction. Like I don't have an assembled Malekith, so
Yeah.
I cannot check, but I am quite confident if you put a range 2 in front of Hulk and then put Malekith at the end of that range 2, you can spin him like a top and he won't hit Hulk. I'm quite confident of that.
Okay.
And I could be wrong, but I'm quite confident. Now,
Anyway.
if you're saying Dormammu maybe. Like, that might be a problem. The Sentinels with his arms reached out while he's like puppet mastering somebody, that will be a problem. I'm not going to even attempt to argue that.
Anyway, we beat this dead horse. We'll do some real life testing and see if it's a problem. But I really hope the community decides that we can proxy what we need to play this game the way it was meant to be played.
Right.
With
so
the models
the
we
issue,
wanna play.
I think the bigger issue is, can you magnetize the wings? Can you not put the wings on? Can you bend the wings to put them straight up like the Archangel kind of is? Can you clip the little spiky bits off the tips of his wings? Like, what is the line? What is okay? What is not okay? Like, can you just not put the wings on at all? Like, where is it? Where's the line? Because if people are of the opinion, and obviously Aaron is, that this is an important aspect of the game, then fuck me. Like, then why would you be allowed to do that? Because it's part of the game. Like, you're modeling for advantage if that's the argument you're going to make. And if they make this the stance that their modeling for advantage is not enforced or penalized, then okay, well then why wouldn't you do the opposite? Bend the wings down even further and flatten them out so they just block entire areas that you're supposed to be able to stand in. It's like, and so then I'll just make all of my models have giant fuck off wings as a, conversion. Like, yeah. It's like all of my models have these bell jars over them that are exactly like range 2.1, so you can't attack me. Like, yeah. Like, for a perfect example, you could just put Malekith on like a 1-foot dowel rod, so he's above the table and he's just never conflicting.
I wonder if I could put his entire base on a dowel rod connected to another large base on the bottom.
No.
Why not?
That's too many bases. That's a proxy base. You can only have one base.
No, it's one model. It's one model.
Now, if you you could. This would be amazing. Just get a piece of PVC and glue both bases to the ends of it, and that way you've just got a fucking 2-foot long base that you just put on the table.
That's actually not
It
a
would
horrible
actually make
idea.
it would make it very easy to measure range because you'd have a perfect cylinder of his base to the floor.
Yeah, the PVC had to be the exact right size, but I might have to work on that.
Mm.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get out of here. You guys ready?